The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. Jess has recently lost her job and shows up at her half-brother's place in Paris looking for refuge. However, he's nowhere to be found. As Jess tries to track down his whereabouts, she starts to uncover the secrets of this building and its residents. From the Scottish Highlands to islands off the coast of Ireland, Lucy Foley has a knack for transporting her readers to highly memorable and wanderlust-worthy locations. And now, in her newest novel of suspense, she sets her sights on Paris. In The Paris Apartment, Lucy Foley invites readers to explore a darker side of the City of Light. Following a young woman escaping turmoil in her personal life for the refuge of her brother's home in a posh Parisian apartment building, this book invites readers into a world of intrigue where everyone's a suspect and nothing is quite as it seems. This Hitchcockian story tells a tale of suspicion, secrets, and murder, all set against the enchanting backdrop of Paris. We highly recommend you read the book because no summary can convey the author's words written on the pages of this amazing book. The novel consists of many short chapters, each titled after the character whose point of view directs the chapter. The narrative perspective is therefore continually shifting, and many chapters end on cliffhangers that remain unresolved until several chapters later. The story starts with Ben Daniels, a journalist who has recently moved to Paris on the cusp of writing a powerful story when a figure breaks into his apartment. When his half-sister Jess Hadley arrives for a visit, she discovers that he is nowhere to be found, even though his wallet, key, and Vespa are all in their proper place. Believing that Ben has disappeared, Jess asks around about his whereabouts, but she's out of place in the apartment building. She is less wealthy than the residents, she's a foreigner, and she asks questions the residents want to avoid. The residents are disturbed by Jess's arrival. Each of them has their own experiences with Ben and their own closely guarded secrets. Sophie Manu is an older woman whose husband, Jacques, pressures her to look glamorous at all times, but underneath her beauty she's tormented as an anonymous extortionist sends her notes threatening to reveal a secret about her. Mimi is a young woman who wants to be part of something exciting and social but is treated as a child and remains emotionally immature. Antoine has an alcohol addiction and the reclusive concierge surveils all tenants suspiciously. Jess's search leads her to the staircase within the building's walls. This staircase is a remnant of the passages servants used long ago. Jess descends a staircase to the cellar where the door closes tightly behind her, trapping her. Though she's sure someone locked her in, she's rescued by a man named Nick, who insists that the door was only jammed. Nick and Ben are old university friends who traveled together in Amsterdam. He helped settle Ben into the apartment when Ben surprised him in Paris after a decade of no communication. Nick helps Jess report Ben's disappearance to the police. Jess develops a burgeoning alliance with Theo, a newspaper editor who worked with Ben on a freelance basis. When Jess discovers that Ben's wallet holds a mysterious metal card with a firework symbol, she gives it to Theo to establish trust and find answers. Once again, they listen to Ben's last voicemail to Jess, and they can discern Ben confronting a figure who surprised him in his apartment, Jess's only concrete evidence that something bad has happened to Ben. On her way back from meeting with Theo, Jess notices a woman following her. The woman is also looking for Ben and says she overheard Jess asking about him. When Jess says Ben may be in trouble, however, the woman runs away. Jess ferrets around the building and comes across Sophie, who is hosting a party in her apartment. Though Nick, Mimi, and Antoine act like strangers at this party, Jess finds a photograph of them with a younger Sophie, revealing that they are somehow a family. Upon this discovery, Jess decides Nick is untrustworthy but decides against confronting him for the time being. Mimi hosts a Halloween party in the building's cellar, and Jess attends so she can ask around about Ben. At one point during the party, Jess leaves the snoop around Mimi's apartment and finds cut-up painted portraits of a nude Ben. She realizes that Mimi has been watching Ben from her window and painting him. The next day, Theo tells her that he's onto something. He uses the metal card from Ben's wallet to get them into a secret club owned by Jacques. One of the club's dancers is none other than a woman named Irina who followed Jess around, hoping to find Ben through her. The chapters narrated by Mimi reveal that she was obsessed with Ben and believed him to reciprocate her feelings. Sophie's chapters likewise expose that she had an affair with Ben, while Nick's chapters recount a sexual experience he had with Ben when the two traveled together in Amsterdam. As the secrets continue to surface, the family dynamics slowly unravel. Antoine and Nick are Sophie's stepsons, and Mimi, whose biological mother died in childbirth, is the daughter whom Sophie adopted and passed off as her own biological child, while Mimi's grandmother is the concierge who took the job to be closer to her secret granddaughter. Irina later meets with Jess and Theo and reveals the truth of the operation. Women were brought in from abroad on the belief that they would be dancers, but the club is really a front for sex trafficking where elite Parisian men use coded wine purchases to select which women to abuse for the night. The women are mostly undocumented and their passports are held by their traffickers. Irina hands over photographs of some of the men, which she took with a camera Ben snuck in for her. After this meeting, Theo is arrested for drug possession, though he accuses the police of planting their evidence. Meanwhile, Antoine reveals to Sophie that he's her extortionist. He knows that Jacques met Sophie at the club, that Sophie herself was trafficked before Jacques married her. Antoine also knows about Sophie's affair with Ben and threatens to tell Jacques about it. Jess returns to the apartment building and finds the concierge got injured at the foot of the stairs. When Nick and Antoine confront Jess, she runs all the way to the attic, the former maid's quarters, where she finds Ben on the brink of death. Sophie and Nick enter the attic, and Sophie finally explains Ben's initial disappearance. After he had moved into the building, Mimi found his exposé on Jacques' sex trafficking business, and when she told Nick, he told Jacques. Mimi then saw Jacques attacking Ben in his apartment and fled to his aid, killing Jacques. Sophie and the concierge helped hide the evidence and brought Ben to the attic, where Sophie has been tending to him. She enveloped Jack's body in a bed sheet and led Antoine and Nick to believe it was Ben's body, and they buried him in the courtyard garden. Ben recuperates in the hospital, and Theo helps him publish his story with a different angle, omitting the details about Mimi and Sophie and only exposing the club as a front for sex trafficking. Jess convinces Sophie to first give up the meticulous records of the traffickers, then sell off her valuables and give the money to the trafficked women so they can get away before the cops raid the club. Shortly after Ben's story is published, Antoine dies by suicide. The police believe that Jacques is hiding somewhere, but an anonymous website publishes the records and photographs of the club's predators. Jess moves to Italy. At the train station, she sees the concierge and Sophie's dog headed for the south of France, where Mimi has gone to recuperate. This book is a slow-burning story, but it's a story that never lacks entertainment value. Given the book's complexity and multiple perspectives, this story's more measured pacing feels appropriate because readers will find it helpful to have ample time to meet the story's central cast of characters and thoroughly understand the way their lives intersect. The Paris apartment may unfurl in measured pacing, but Foley's masterful sense of timing will keep readers hooked. The lingering questions surrounding Ben's disappearance, coupled with Jess's increasing sense of unease, are all the bait needed to hook readers, and Foley reels us in with an expert hand, building to a finale that ties together these stories' many threads with surgical precision and cinematic entertainment value. The Paris apartment marks a slight shift in tone for Foley, whose two previous thrillers have relied heavily on the classic locked room mystery trope. While this book does have much in common with Foley's previous two novels, including a primary focus on a single setting and a relatively fixed set of characters, this book does not read like the modern spins on the locked room mystery for which Foley has become so popular. Although it primarily focuses on events that take place within the story's central apartment building, and yes, it does primarily focus on a limited cast of characters, there's an openness to the plot here that differs from the traditional setup of a closed circle or locked room mystery. This brings us to the end of today's video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure to hit the bell button so you can get notified whenever there's a new book summary ready for you.